Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks. First and TED with Aaron Lavigan. The best of 49ers First Takes meets TED Talks Ball. We got our usual Wednesday afternoon, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern slot going here this week. Fired up to chop it up with my buddy Aaron. How has your week been, Aaron? What's on your mind?
You saw on Twitter, man. I worked my Monday, and wow, I'm out of shape. I'm heavy, slow. Work's going to be a challenge for a couple weeks until I get my body used to it again. It's inactivity for 6 months, and then working in the heat, doing physical stuff is So that part of my life sucks right now, but everything else is pretty good, so I can't complain.
Right on. Well, thank you for coming to chop it up with me here today. Brian Culp was about 6-7 hours early this morning, saying hit the like button, everybody.
That's
and
awesome.
And he even made it back. He said, "I made it." Welcome back, Bryant. We appreciate you being here. It's got an interesting, set of news for today. I mean, some interesting updates this week. Not quite sure where we should begin. I guess, like usual, we should probably begin with quarterback stuff. I saw today that Sam Darnold took or split first team reps with Trey Lance today, got half of the reps. And some people were coming back at me because I had asked where the Sam Darnold truthers yesterday when the reports were out that so far up till today, Lance had taken all the first team snaps and OTAs up till today. But I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Funny, I actually made a little quick, what do you call those, reel or thing on
short,
talking about how up until yesterday, it's been Trey Lance. And I did not know that Darnold had first team reps today. That's quite an interesting turn of events, but maybe it has to do with the fact that, they're the two only real viable quarterbacks, and you got to save your quarterback's arm. But I did not personally know that. I was like, as you were saying it, I'm like, damn, really? That guy's taking first team reps. But I guess you got to be fair. You got to let him go with whatever starters are there. You can't have him going with bottom of the roster guys. So interesting.
No doubt about Mariah in the house saying, yo, thanks for coming, Mariah, from 49 Faithful League. Great podcast with Taryn Lewis. Check that out, folks. They're a great duo for sure. Tommy Huxley saying, Giants suck, man. Why do I watch these scrubs? Yeah, the San Francisco Giants, the ownership is not really spending a lot of money. They're spending about enough to put butts in seats, but not enough to contend. So I don't have real high hopes for them until that changes. So let's hope that does. But for now, it's going to probably be frustration, and I'm sorry. I feel it for you, Tommy. Tommy Huxley. I can't do it. How do you do it, Aaron?
Tommy Huxley. Sorry, I had to do it.
I tried. But Aaron is the master for sure. I can only pull it off when you're not around. Frank Culp says smash the like button. Everyone on both channels. Yeah. Everybody watching on 49ers First Takes, please like and subscribe on my channel. And same thing for people on TED Talks Ball. Make sure you hit up Aaron and keep it, a buck. And then I'll try and show all the chats so that nobody has to worry about being in the wrong channel or anything like that. Jimmy Perez says, what's up, guys? Aaron and Ted. Not much, Jimmy. Thanks for joining. Further AM here saying, what's good, fellas? And we got Fernando in the house giving us a wave. And Bash, 49er Minded, saying howdy.
Hello. Thanks for holding it down on Monday.
Poor Bash got sucked into my
drama
creator drama spat that I had today. But I had told him some stuff earlier about the guy I had the beef with, and so I had to share it with him, and he's in the same group. So what are you going to do? I saying, what up? Not much, Bass. How you doing? Better now that you're here, man. Thanks for being here. So he's doing both channels. He said howdy from your channel and what up from
Oh,
mine. Good man. Thanks
hey,
for
hey.
splitting it up. We appreciate that. Uh, Fernando's saying hi, and Donald Johnson in the house. What's up, fellas? Bang bang Niner gang. So yeah, I mean, I think it's not a surprise that Sam Darnold got some first team reps, or that it's 50-50, or that it might be here and there. Sounds like he had a good day, from what the reports were coming out of OTAs. Um, I just don't think it'll last. I don't think that he will, um, you know, perform as well as Trey Lance will, but time will tell, as the wise man said. Somebody asked me today, like, oh, well, I just think somebody was saying, well, the fan base is divided, and why are you even talking about it? It's May. And I'm like, dude, it's called a prediction. And, any schmuck can tell you what already happened. The power is in predicting what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if you want to like ride the fence and, wimp out essentially, feel free. But that's not me. I'm going to speak what's on my mind. He's like, well, why don't you talk about all the other positions? I'm like, well, I haven't seen much of them. I'll talk about them in camp. He's like, well, why camp and not OTAs? I'm like, because I'll be at camp, see, and I'll be watching with my own eyes. I'm not going to go off like a clip or an article or, someone,
You're not going to base your whole premise of a video or a live stream on a secondhand video that might have been from the year before, like somebody did recently. I forget who they
yeah.
were. So
Or by somebody who's biased trying to push an agenda, so yeah, I'm gonna do that anyway. It was just funny. And he's like, I just want the whole fan base to get along. And I'm like, dude,
kumbaya. Yeah.
this fan base is not going to get along
Nope.
until we pick a QB and get rid of the other one. Until that happens, there is going to be drama. Period. He's like, I
We
just
still have
want it to
people in
be.
this fan base that want like Joe Montana over Steve Young. You mean get along? No one's ever
Yeah,
gonna get along.
that's probably true. But I think we'll have a better chance short term of getting along a little bit if there's just one QB, one franchise QB on the roster, and one backup who's clearly the backup. It makes it tougher, to. I suppose some people still be like, "Oh, Jimmy G could have done it."
Oh God. Whatever, dude.
And he's like, well, why would we get rid of one QB? And I'm like, I'm not saying get rid of one QB. I'm just saying it's not going to happen till then. That's what I'm saying. And he's like, yeah, why would we get rid of one of the things? I'm like, no, we shouldn't. I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying don't sit there and get your panties in a bunch because the fan base is divided. This is the 49ers. It's been happening, like you said, since the 80s, since Steve Young and Joe Montana. It happened with Cap and Alex Smith. Jimmy and Trey, now Trey and Purdy. Maybe Darnold even gets into the mix. Who knows? I don't think so, but
The way I look at it is until this franchise decides, or unless the players decide themselves by one outplaying the other, until we are a team that has a legit number one quarterback, we're always going to be in the same kind of recycled, regurgitated news cycle, whether it's national, whether it's local, whether it's fans. All the best teams in the NFL have a surefire quarterback except for the 49ers. The Niners have this amazing roster with all these players, but the one thing that they don't have solidified is quarterback. And I think it's been proven over time so far with this squad, since it's been taken over by John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan in 2017, that they still haven't figured out the quarterback position. When you have two, you have none. When you have three, you really have none. So, the thought in the mind of a lot of 49ers fans is we all love what Brock Purdy did last year. If we were asked to have somebody start a game of importance, we would probably pick Purdy. But Trey Lance, if he ever figured this thing out, could take this offense to heights that we haven't seen just because he's so much more athletic and he's got such a bigger arm and he's just a bigger, stronger, just more complete, like modern day athlete. Whereas everything that Brock Purdy does is, it takes everything for him. It's all gusto and heart and, intestinal fortitude, all that stuff. Where some of it, if Trey Lance was a guy, would be just based on pure talent. So I don't know, man. I'm not riding the fence, but I'm kind of riding the fence on this thing because I just want the 49ers to win. But I've noticed that if I kind of lean way one way or the other, Ted, that like people do attack me for my position on it. And it's like, whatever, dude. You know what? At the end of the day, if we won a championship and it was with Brock Purdy, everybody would be happy. Well, no, I would say like 85% of the fan base would be happy. They would, some would be like, well, why don't we just have Trey play along, or vice versa. So whatever. But yeah, I've kind of rode the fence somewhat myself.
At least you go out swinging,
Mm-hmm.
and not just like cowering in the corner like some of these people. So I like, we're going to make mistakes. No one's perfect. I like your hat, by the way, too. I don't know. No one's mentioned it, but I'll mention it.
This is one of my older hats. A lot of my hats are scattered throughout the house. I have like hats on the desk where I have the stream. I have hats on the bar. I have hats in my bedroom. They're all over. I'm a slob.
Well, this is a new one, this new visor with the 49ers saloon font on the bill. Finally found that. It's like, this is a great time of year to order things because like during the season, I saw a bunch of these and like they're always out of stock. And then so I ordered this one and it arrived. I think we did a stream with it last week.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other day, Lee Gowland from 49ers Faithful UK sent me one where it's like a 49ers saloon font, but it's up here on that part of the visor. Yeah. And so of course had to order that. I like broke as a joke, but managed to scrounge up $30 to get one of those. So I'm taking a page out of your book, Aaron. I'm trying to mix up my hat game a little bit.
Yeah, you got to take away the concentration on the fact that I have a really big forehead, and best way to do that is to just drop a hat on top of it, and no one ever knows. I've had people see me without a hat, and they're like, or would have a hat on, they're like, "Are you bald?" And I'm like, "No, I have a massive forehead, but I'm not bald." So
nice. So Tommy Huxley was saying, "I thought I subscribed to your channel, Ted. What the heck happened? Did I unsub by mistake?" I don't know. I'll tell you, I didn't unsub you, Tommy. I don't even know if you can do that on YouTube.
I don't think you can. You can block somebody, somehow from commenting on your channel, but you can't unsub anybody. So
I just did that today. There was somebody showed up who had been disappeared out of my life for a little bit, for a few weeks, and just popped up today to call me fat. So he's gone.
Grown men calling other grown men fat. Wow.
Hey, no, I mean, it's I mean it's true. I don't try to pretend I'm skinny, but I just was worried about like what he was going to say next.
What are we in high school? Like, yeah, that's weird.
It was somebody that I let in, a little bit, and probably had more embarrassing things to say about me. So we'll let him do it through a different medium. Chad Schrader here saying, "What's up, guys?" Saying, "What's up further?" I think that must be somebody else in the chat, I guess. Fernando, we got 187 in the house. BP 13, week 1. Let's hope he's ready. Knock on wood.
Could be happening.
Huxley says, "Forehead man."
That's me.
Ted, you ain't fat.
That's my alter ego. Forehead man.
I mean, I'm definitely not skinny. That's for sure. So
I'm definitely. I appreciate the sentiment. A couple comments down, Tommy. I am pretty heavy. I wouldn't consider. I'm slightly large. I'm about 290 right now. When I went out of work in December, it was about 275. So I've gained 15 pounds. I had to order all new because I work outside in the heat. So I got like shorts, and I had to order like 4 sizes up.
There you go. Well, I'm 3 inches shorter than you and about at least 10 pounds heavier. But I do work out. I hit the rowing machine right before we came on today, so that helps a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I do like to say I'm built like a nose tackle. Probably,
my brother's definitely built like a nose tackle. He's like 6 foot tall, and he's very large. He would be perfect at nose tackle. Me, I don't fit in any position group. I'm unathletic, slow. I would have been like Tom Brady running my 40 back in 2002. They would have been like, wow, he's stiff, can't run.
Bash says he's built like a nose tackle too. There we go.
Definitely.
And Tommy says, glad you're back at work, Aaron. I didn't
Me
say it, but
too.
I am too.
Me
Happy for
too.
you.
I'm a little
Getting back into
depressed
game shape.
because I'm very, very out of shape, and working the other day was extremely challenging. I was pretty much out of gas, maybe like 2 hours into my shift, and I only worked 6 hours. I asked if I could. They were sending people home because of the holiday, and I said, "Can I go?" And they let me go home about 2.5 hours early. So hopefully I'll be better tomorrow and as the weeks go by. But yeah, I'm glad I'm back to work too, for the simple fact that like there's only so much napping you can do and retweeting and tweeting on Twitter when you're not working. So unless I'm working from home and I have a real job, yeah, it's good to be back.
I guess Cesar Calderon checking in from New Mexico. Thanks, Caesar.
Hello.
Bash says he's built like a nose tackle too. He says, I run a slow 40, but he's quick and agile. There you
Nice.
go.
Wish I was.
Kind of like Brock Purdy. So Brock Purdy, speaking of Brock Purdy, started throwing a Nerf ball within the last few days. So they're still hoping he'll be ready for training camp. But the big news was that they announced that even if Brock Purdy is ready, there will be a competition, a three-way competition. So essentially, no longer is Brock Purdy the leader in the clubhouse. It is a free-for-all, hence my title of the video where I said Brock Purdy no longer QB1. That was a little harsh, maybe, but ultimately, I don't think anybody is QB1 at the moment. And it's going to be interesting how it all pans out. I agree with Aaron, though. I think if push came to shove right now, if Purdy was healthy and we had to win a game, hard to say he's probably not the best option right now. But, it's May, or I guess, was it June 1st? No, June 1st tomorrow. So still some time for things to change, for the deck to shuffle, if you will.
Yeah, I heard the news today that he had a really good first throwing session and that he's right on schedule, which, for some people means nothing, but they're not ruling out a chance at starting training camp, and they're not ruling out a chance that he could start the season. But I feel like they're covering their ass by having all these different like he's there's no starter, nobody's the leader. It's just, so everything's even Steven, like that's kind of weird that's going to be like that in camp. I personally would love to have one guy be the leader in training camp. It just gives me a uneasy feeling that that's how we're looking at things. I don't know if John Lynch is just appeasing the audience, but kind of giving everybody like not a real answer by just saying like, hey, everybody's got a shot at it, when in their mind they have a specific person in mind, and it's got to be Brock Purdy. And the way I look at it is, if it's not Brock Purdy, it's Trey Lance, just for the simple fact that they have to see what they finally have, and it's got to happen now. And if they had to make a decision based on two healthy quarterbacks, of course they would choose Brock, because in the NFL, there's no time for experiments. You're in a win now situation. You cannot waste players' windows on, the what if factor of putting a guy and falling to like a 0-4 record or an 0-3 record because he decided to make a move based on giving guy a chance. You got to go with the best guy at the position. So kind of disappointing that they're just going at it the way they are, but it's literally going to be June 1st tomorrow. We have 2 months till training camp, so I'm not really overly concerned.
There you go. Ann Ford in the house saying Trey Lance is the man. We had Jess from East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Check her out today at 5. She has a special guest.
They always have great guest, Jess, on their channel.
Yeah, 5 Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern.
I don't know how you do it, Jess, but you are like a guest magnet.
Yeah, Jordan will be on.
Jordan Elliott?
I call Jordan Elliott. I call him the river, as in the River Jordan. And he's a great great reporter, great article writer, big pillar in the 49ers content community. So make sure everybody to check that out today at 5. Tommy, I'm going to skip your comment. but yeah, Ann was saying Trey Lance is the man. Give Lance a chance. That's all I keep saying. Give Lance a chance. Got to see what we got in him. And basically what I've been saying is if he goes to another team and hits his ceiling, Kyle will never live it down.
That's a fireable offense. That's an
front office. And more importantly, for us Niner fans who have to stick around the aftermath, we'll never hear the end of it. I mean,
no, and rightfully so. You have to be rightfully you're going to have to eat that crow and eat it and like the taste of it. No. You got to know what you have in this kid.
That's what I keep saying. Plus, I beat it to death.
If he starts the season based on health and he plays well, he can't give back. You can't take the job away from him. You can't. It's just how it works. I mean, at least for me, if the Niners go into the season and start like 6-1 or 6-2, and Trey Lance is playing as good as Brock Purdy would be playing, that level of, completions, touchdowns, interceptions, the offense looks efficient. You have to stay with them, and that will be, to me, that's it. But we'll see. The Niners don't do anything based on what the fans think. We all know. I mean, they joked about drafting a freaking running back in the third after they drafted Moody. So they really don't give a damn what we think. But that's just my opinion, personally.
Oh, I think Kyle, split the reps today with Darnold just to get back at people like me who are asking where the Darnold truthers yesterday. So, when it was reported that Lance had taken all the first team reps so far in OTAs. So, yeah, Kyle likes to have fun with it, and I don't mind that at all, even if I take one in the shorts occasionally because of it. Tommy's saying, in reference to his other one that I didn't put up, I'm not going to read stuff that's like kind of dirty or whatever, but it was a good try, Tommy. Good try. You got to wait till the chat's more popping, then I might, click on it before I get a chance to read it. Right. If it's slow, then I'm definitely going to read it first. So, Willie Rodriguez in the house saying, "What's up, Willie? Guys? Thanks, Willie. Thanks for being here." So, other news this week: Debo made his first appearance today, or at least first documented appearance at OTAs. So I was glad to see him there. It seemed like some people were upset that he hadn't been there yet. I think we talked about this last week a little, right? I mean, as far as like just a big TBD.
You said, I think was it you that wanted to see him there?
I mean, I said no. I mean, I trust him. I trust him.
Last year with him coming in out of shape.
Yeah, I think it's a bad look.
Contract.
Right. If he comes in out of shape this year, it's a horrible look. But ultimately, if he's off doing his own thing like Bosa does, and he comes in shape, I got no problem with it. He's a vet. He knows the plays. So, I don't think he really needs to be here as much as some other newer players. The one thing I look at is the year before last, where in 2020, or I guess it was 2 years ago, I guess it was before the 2021 season. No, because that's when he killed it. It was the 2020, before the 2020 season, Debo was working out with the footwork king before OTAs, and that's when he got his Jones fracture, and that's why he missed 3 months or 3
working
or 4
out with
months.
A footwork guy and hurt his foot.
Jeez. Yeah, the footwork king of all people. And but ultimately, that's a good sign to me that, like, left to his own devices, he'll default to keeping himself in good shape. The year he held in, he really couldn't work out fully because if he did injure himself, then it could jeopardize his contract.
Yep.
And he was, negotiating a long-term deal. So I understand that one as much as it frustrated me to have that great 2021 season and the big drop-off for 2022. So yeah, I mean it's TBD. We'll see how he does. If he's in good shape, then I got no problem with it. If he doesn't, then yeah, I got problems with it. I think he I don't want to say owes us a good season, but I think he owes himself a good season after show that he can do something like he did in 2021.
Man, I definitely didn't get a lot of this updated news from today. I took a little nappy nap, and nothing was really on Twitter as far as any press conferences other than the quote that Brock looked good in his first throwing session. I missed everything else. So as you're talking about it or people are commenting about it, I'm learning. So I feel uninformed. All
That's all right. You can catch up. It's no problem. I don't think there's
right,
anything
guys.
earth shaking. So here, Tommy Huxley is saying Grant says a push at starting QB. Yeah, that's sort of what we were just saying. Um, Fernando Perez in the house. Hey guys, great podcast. Let's go Niners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. Appreciate it. Tommy Huxley says looked like Darnold had a better completion percentage, but Lance completed a bomb to Ayuk, who was covered very well. Yeah, by Luter. Yeah, I heard it was a 40-yard pass. So
Oh my God.
that's impressive for sure. David McNiner in the house, and let's go
What's going
Niners.
on?
Asherson. He also said Trey had the best throw of the day, but they had some drops and some misses for Trey. Yeah, drops on short throws, and the news was delayed. No wonder. Some other news this week. Christian McCaffrey was asked. I guess he was on the Rich Eisen show,
Mm-hmm.
and he was asked about the devaluation of the running back position and his thoughts on that. I don't know if you saw that one or heard a little bit.
And
So
I
listened.
listened to Locked On 49ers response to it, and I'm very much in Brian Peacock's mindset of how running backs are just not something that you spend a lot of money on nowadays, where it's go ahead with your question. But yeah, I heard the comment, and then I heard a response from the guys from Locked On 49ers. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, no, I was just curious to know what your thoughts were.
With me, I feel like I understand because of what running backs do, especially running backs like Christian McCaffrey or guys who are a huge part of the offense who pass protect, run the ball either up the middle on the outside and catch the ball, that they feel like they're undervalued and they need to be paid. But at the same time, the window for a running back's career is so short. They are the most off injured player on the team because of the fact that they get the ball the most. A lot of times they're running up the middle. They're going into the biggest guys on the field. They take a ton of punishment. So when I see the 49ers draft running backs in the third round, it always makes me question, what mindset did they actually have? Because then you see them get guys that are undrafted free agents, and you're like, okay, see, they don't value them early. They value them late or undrafted. Because with that, it's you get a ton of production out of a guy that doesn't cost a lot on your roster, and you can use that money other places. So I don't know. I'm of the mindset that you don't spend money on running backs. My brother believes the same thing. He believes that running backs are one of the least important positions on the field. You want to have guys somewhat talented who can run the ball and be elusive and catch it, but to spend big money on a contract for a guy that probably won't see the end of his second contract, most times, it's not a good investment. So I agree. I agree that the fact that they are undervalued, but there's reasons behind it. So
there you go. I don't know. Christian McCaffrey is making me rethink it because I kind of am of the opinion that he might be our most important weapon now.
I agree with that. I agree
in
with
this offense, and so, but if he gets injured this season, like he was the 2 seasons before, this last season in 2022, he played every game. I'm pretty sure, but the 2 seasons prior to that, missed quite a bit of time in both seasons. So if that happens again in 2023, that might change my opinion a little bit. But right now, I mean, I'm definitely feeling like Christian McCaffrey is undervalued at $12 million a year when Debo is making 23. That doesn't make sense to me. Or even, well, Kittle at 15. That's a little closer because of what Kittle does in the blocking game. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with, it was Peacock who was saying running backs get injured a lot, and he pointed out that CMC had been injured some. And the other thing that Peacock pointed out is all the guys that Christian mentioned as, you know, reasons why running backs shouldn't be undervalued. None of them had won a ring other than Emmitt Smith, and that was back in the 90s. So,
and that it was a long time ago. He played it behind a massively successful and massive in general offensive line. Yeah, it's been a long time.
It has, no doubt about it.
Him and Barry Sanders are the only two really prime examples. One never won, and one had 3 championships. So, but that's over 30 some odd years ago.
But also, as they mentioned, maybe the best offensive line of all time, certainly the best of that era.
Yeah, their offensive line. Oh man, those were the days.
Tommy Huxley says KLM. I'm not sure what that stands for.
Kickers Lives Matter.
Oh, there we go.
But,
no, we're not doing that.
He's trying to start a problem here. Settle down, Beavis.
Yeah, they're just saying hi. Here we go. Debo needs to have a stellar season. Absolutely, I think he does. He's got a big contract.
Debo needs to kind of return to what he was before he got hurt, because he last year was a little MIA. The thing with Debo, though, is he puts his body on the line so much the previous year that, maybe he just felt like absolute dog water last year. And I don't know, man, like the way Kittle explained after games what players go through, how like the second day is like, it's like being in a car accident. Him, Kittle, McCaffrey, all these guys that initiate contact on offense. They don't avoid contact, they initiate contact. So I don't know. And yeah, he came in out of shape because he couldn't do too much based on the fact that if he came in, and he tried to work out before the contract and hurt himself, then he would lose money. So yeah, I expect him to have a better season, but at the same time, dude, with the McCaffrey added to this offense, I feel like the 49ers don't need to use him as much. So maybe that'll help him down the line, maybe later in the season. Who knows?
I keep waiting for Kyle to dial it back a little with McCaffrey, but it just seems like
why do we need to have him up the middle? Run him outside. Kyle is at the mindset if he has a really good player, he's going to use them until the wheels fall off. That's how Kyle uses guys. You can't stop him? Okay, we're going to run him again. You still can't stop him? Okay, we're going to run him again. Like, Kyle, no, we have other people. Throw it to Ayuk or Kittle. Don't stop running a halfback dive, like with one of your smallest guys on your team. You know what I mean?
No doubt about it. No, absolutely. Real quick, Mitch Kofsky in the house. He runs the Hardcore Sports Network. It's a chat group I'm in. It's also one
great of the last name
YouTube like channels. He was all season long. He was Fire Doc Rivers because he's a Philly sports fan.
Okay.
And anyway, he runs this Hardcore Sports Network, and I usually stream to that and talk sports. But Dan Talk Sports ran into trouble in that somebody streamed the Celtics game on the channel, and so it got kicked off for a week. It's what happened. We got a lot of people streaming to the same channel. I told Dan, I was like kind of surprised it hadn't happened sooner. We have so many people streaming stuff to one channel.
If you have people that all have access to a network, and it's hard to kind of control. That's why when I made my YouTube channel, I'm like, I am not collabing on a channel, because if there's a fallout, just keep it to me.
Oh, those never happen.
Fallouts? No, nothing's happened. In the 4 years, I get along with everybody. I still have all the same friends. Not.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had one today. I got blocked today, so it happens. Especially if you can be a little bit abrasive from time to time, which I don't know. I guess I get under people's skin on the timeline. I don't know.
You're not the only one.
Uh, yeah. So I popped back up for that. Dave McNiner was saying, oh wait, Bash was saying Barry Sanders would have ran for 3K if he had played
Agreed.
Johnny Emmett Smith's line. Absolutely. Barry Sanders was easily my number one running back of all time. Although I didn't really watch Jim Brown. He was before my time. But of the guys I watched, Barry Sanders could make something out of nothing like nobody else. Dave McNair says Frank the Tank Gore played a long time, but running backs like him are few and far
That was
between.
actually one of the things they talked about during that podcast, is that Frank Gore is kind of an outlier when it comes to running backs. He came into the NFL with 2 blown freaking knees.
And he broke his hip too, didn't he? And still barely
He was
missed
in
any
all
games.
sorts, and he barely missed any time with the 49ers. He played a
Incredible.
long time. That just doesn't happen. But he also, as a person, loved the game. He loved the game. Some people use it for money. Like I told people before, I've had this conversation because of physicality and how the league tears you up. I'm the type, if I was like a mid-level roster guy, I'm playing 7 to 10 years maximum, and then I'm out. I'm going to make as much money as I can, live below my means, and then just, because the physicality of the league is just so bad. And if you're a running back, you're beat. Do you ever see some of these guys when they're old, how crippled they are? They can barely walk. I forget which one of them. Earl Campbell, I think, is a great example of people that ran to contact as opposed to running away from contact. Say what you want about Tyler Lockett, who plays for the Seahawks. I've never seen one person avoid contact at all costs. You know what I mean?
Oh boy, just lay down.
He just lays down. Then there's Debo and Kittle and Christian McCaffrey that are like, oh, there's 3 guys in front of me and I can step out of bounds. No, let's take them all on. Maybe tear an ACL. That's okay.
I do love that we got the Yak brothers though. They're 3 of my favorites: Kittle, Debo, and CMC. They're incredible.
Same.
Silly Fungi must have run out of dad jokes. He said, "How many San Francisco fans does it take to change a light bulb? 49 or so." But
That's pretty lame, dude. He's a good guy, silly fun guy.
He is. Thanks, Bash. Just a guy. Tommy says everybody's laughing. Fungi. Frank was ridiculous. Yeah, his longevity was incredible, no doubt about it. And he was good. He was never really the best at any one time, but he was always top 5.
Yeah, they had a really good running back room in Miami. They had Willis McGahee. They had him. They had I'm trying to think of who else. There was a lot of really good players. I could only think of him and McGahee, but there was at least 2 other guys.
At least one more. I know there were at least 3 of them. Yeah. I've seen how fast Frank goes. Oh yeah, I bet.
They were loaded at the running back position. When does that happen? Like every single guy had a decent NFL career. That's insane.
That is, no doubt about it. Tommy's saying, "What is this heart to the right?" Dude, YouTube, I can't see the chat.
Clinton Portis. Thank you, Niner Gang Podcast.
There we go. Yeah. Dion in the house. Thanks, Dion. Appreciated. So what else is going on in Ninerland? We talked about Purdy. He's throwing. We talked about Darnold. He's getting some first team reps. With Lance, it looked like he was maybe straightening that front leg again today. I saw somebody post something about that. So maybe, some of his advances in mechanics might be regressing a little bit.
Old habits die hard, man.
I'm sure that'll happen. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? I mean, that's pretty common.
Man, talk about footwork. About how good was Joe Montana with his footwork when he played? Like that is if you want to look at somebody as like the gold standard, boom, at footwork and how quarterback's supposed to use his footwork in the pocket. I don't understand how they don't have all these guys like just like gluing them to a chair and just watching Joe Montana's footwork. I'm not saying Montana had the better physical traits and he could throw the ball. I mean, he was very accurate. He had a decent arm, but his footwork is what was why it was so accurate. And some of these guys who have these huge arms, they think that they can make up for their lack of like footwork and timing with just unwinding and uncorking these amazing throws. And it's like footwork really matters. Hitting that back foot, having stability when you throw the ball is so important. And I feel like with guys like him and Kaepernick and even Mahomes has some seriously bad mechanics sometimes when you watch him, but he makes up for it with the fact that he's just an amazing athlete. So, but he's got the requisite trophies and all the things. So like he can do all that stuff because he's proven that he can overcome it. If Trey Lance could ever overcome some of his stuff, then, we wouldn't even be talking about it. It wouldn't be a conversation piece.
Got Jess saying Joey Fisher. I agree 100% about Montana. And remind me to come back to that. Joey Fisher is a guard, according to Forrester, our offensive line coach. Burford, right guard, and McKivitz, right tackle. Not too terribly shocking there for sure.
Yeah, Fisher's got short arms, so that fits right in. Yeah, he would probably struggle at tackle. Guys would be able to get in on him, regardless of how physical he was in college. If you got T-Rex arms at tackle, man, that could be problematic.
Yeah, I think if you're strong enough, you can overcome it, but that's a lot of strength you're talking about.
Do you ever notice? It's funny though, because guys with long arms struggle with bench press, though.
Right.
But isn't that weird? Like I have kind of short arms for my height. I mean, not with my shoulder now, I can't bench press even if I wanted to. But yeah, it's just because you have to unfold your arms when you do bench press. If you have really long arms, it's better to have kind of stout, thick arms, that you're able to kind of absorb the punishment. It's funny in football, it's opposite.
Yeah, just like shorter guys are better at squats too, right? And doing that kind of stuff because they got the shorter levers. It's easier to move them. No doubt about it. That's true. As far as Joe Montana goes, I was having an argument with a Trey hater, and he was saying something about, I don't know, somehow the argument meandered. We talked about something or other. He talked about Belichick being a great coach, and I was like, well, what did Belichick win without Brady? And he's like, oh yeah, Brady's the GOAT. I'm like, well, he's not my GOAT. Joe Montana's my GOAT. And then he's like,
Joe's still my GOAT.
He's like, oh, all this stuff. He's like, well, maybe you should do one of your polls. Because whenever I argue with somebody that I think they're wrong, I just do a poll and let the masses tell them instead of me arguing a million times with them. And I said, okay, I'll do a poll, but I don't expect Montana to win. It's like, us old heads.
It's recency bias, yeah.
Yeah, the old heads who watched him play are fewer and farther between. We're a dying breed, literally. And but I'm like, I'll do the poll anyway, just to shut you up. And he's like, oh, it's going to be 90% Brady. So I did the poll, and it was like, 46 to 54, or 45 to 55, or whatever it was. It was less than 5% over the median, and he got all mad at me and blocked me. But ultimately, what I was saying to people that were responding Brady is, I'm like, how many more Super Bowls would Montana have won? If he was protected like Brady was. You couldn't hit him high, couldn't hit him low. People also forget there were a lot of super late hits back then that that they started to enforce more strictly. The late
Jim
hit
Burt
rules.
hit.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a massive high. First of all, it was a high hit.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a quarterback unable to protect himself type hit. The way he got hit in that play. And then the hit from Leonard Marshall, Leonard Marshall would have gotten flagged for driving him to the ground. Exactly. Because he literally pinned his helmet to his shoulder blades and then drove him literally into the ground. You got a three. So both of those plays would have been penalties, and probably both of the players that made those hits probably wouldn't have made those hits. And it's a lot of whatever, but Montana took a ton of punishment back then, and he was not a big guy. He was a skinny dude.
Hammered. He got destroyed. Yeah. So that was. I mean, I'm thinking is at least 2 more we would have won if Montana was protected. And then the other side of it too is like, how many more would Montana have won if he didn't have a Hall of Fame, you know, QB and Steve Young waiting in the wings to push him out? You know,
Yep.
we went to several more NFC Championship games. That if Montana had been there, maybe we would have won at least 1 more with Montana, maybe 2 more. Who knows? I don't
think
know.
Montana would have had a shot because Steve Young proved it, and I always thought that Steve Young was less than Montana. I thought he was more. Steve Young was a better athlete than Montana, but Montana's accuracy superseded Steve's. Even though Steve's statistics prove otherwise, just go watch games, especially big games. Montana was always pinpoint. Yeah, you're right. With that roster and the way that we were in the NFC Championship game, I think Montana could have, if he was healthy, played into his 40s and had a shot to win at least 2 to 3 more. I'd say maybe 1 more for sure. 2 more would be pushing it, and 3, I don't think so. Just because, attrition and, the salary cap starting to kick in and stuff. But yeah.
No doubt about it.
Steve's accuracy the Super Bowl year was excellent. It's 100% truth to bash.
Oh yeah, I mean,
listen, I'm a Steve Young outside of football all day. I think Montana's a turd outside of football. From what everybody's telling me, he's a big, kind of like a crusty, miserable, like doesn't want to talk to people kind of guy. And Steve Young, if there's one person I could have on my channel to interview, I'd interview him or Brent Jones. Seem like the 2 coolest cats. And I know for any of you who watch NFL films, man, when he got pulled from that Philly game and he went after Coach Seifert, that's one of my most favorite Steve Young moments ever, because as a player, I would have been the exact same way. I would have been like, he was like, I was looking for a fight.
Yeah, I just think Steve Young didn't have as good an offensive line and didn't have as good of a defense as what Joe had. I mean, other than the Super Bowl year where we pulled Dion in.
Lott was gone and Haley was gone. Eric Wright, all those guys were gone, and it was a different era. Pierce Holt. That was the Niners. The Niners, they got their fix in the late, the 80s and early 90s, and then Dallas is kind of Dallas's deal for at least 5 years, give or take. I would say a good straight 4 years, Dallas was probably the better team. Even the year that the Niners won the Super Bowl, I still think Dallas, that offensive line, that defense, even without Dion, was amazing. I was jealous. I always wanted their offensive line. I'm like, can we somehow get guys that are as big as strong as Eric Williams and Kevin Gogan or,
Nate Newton.
I love those guys. I just hated. People were like, how could you hook anybody on the Cowboys? I don't know, man, because they're just freaking. Their offensive line was awesome, man. Trey Aikman never got touched, man.
It's true. It's true.
You watch some old highlights where the Cowboys were at their peak. Aikman didn't get touched. Emmitt Smith didn't get touched. That offensive line, it was like running behind. It was like the Red Sea. If you're a religious person, it was like a part in the Red Sea, man. There was nobody at anybody's feet. It was just easy, smooth sailing.
I love how the Rams fan count the champs before the Super Bowl.
Those don't count. Those don't count. Sorry.
And we had Gogan when he was washed.
You only have 2. Stop. And yes, yours is more recent, but you don't even have a fan base in where you are right now. We run your stadium when we go there.
Levi South.
We're Levi. Like, how can you really? Come on now, dog.
That's funny. And while we're talking about the Cowboy, go ahead. Or if we want to stick on the Rams, we can too.
No, they won a Super Bowl and they can't even sell out their own stadium when they're going against us. Come on now.
Sad but
fake
true.
Ass fan base. Get out of here, dude. Fake ass fan
true.
Base. You might be some real Rams fans. I'm not saying there isn't, but you can't come at me like, oh yeah, you won the Super Bowl. That's awesome. But where was the passion? Where was the appreciation of your fan base selling out and going and making sure the 49ers have no shot, even when the Niners were the superior team last year, by just selling out the stadium? Nah, dude. We were there. We ran that. There was more red in there. They had to pump they pump noise in that stadium. That's how pathetic it is.
There you go. Steve Young was a beast. No Brady role when he played. Absolutely. Yeah, that
Steve
was my
was more
point.
like our team now. He was like a contact, like he looked for contact. He would have fit right in with this current 49er team.
He would have been the Yak grandpa.
If they were the Yak brothers, he'd have been like
Yak daddy.
He would have been like the, I don't know. I want to say crack brother, but that's kind of lame.
Daddy to the Yak. McNiner says, I call it Levi's Inglewood. There you go. Fair enough. So we were talking about the Cowboys. It reminded me of a little argument I had this weekend. I saw a Cowboys fan had posted, had tweeted something about like, oh, Cowboys, we have, two players, number one at their position, one on offense and one on defense. We have Zach, I think it's Martin. What's this guy's name? I'm blanking on his name now. I think it's Zach Martin, the right guard. And then he was saying that Micah Parsons was the best pass rusher in the league.
Nope.
And I was like, dude, Trent Williams, his left tackle, the best player at the most important position on the O-line. And Bosa is the DPOY and better than Micah Parsons. And I can't tell you how many Cowboys fans pulled up this chart of like pass rush win rate versus double team. And he's like way up in the upper corner. And I'm like, the guy doesn't even play dedicated edge. So, Bosa's going against a left tackle and, a tight end or a running back or a wide receiver. And meanwhile, like Micah Parsons, a lot of time he's off the line and like there's no dedicated blocker to him. He like waits till everybody's engaged and then sneaks in and like somehow has these great passer. And I'm like, pass rush win rate and pressures, it's a good stat, I guess, but it's a subjective stat, right? I mean, like what defines a pressure? It's not like
and you could say that they had a better defensive line last year. The Niners were Bosa.
That's what I said. Bosa. That's what I said. Yeah, I said Micah Parsons had more help. And they're like, what? But then they're talking about our whole defense, and they're probably right. At least at linebacker, we're better off than them. But on the D line, they had that Dorrance Armstrong or somebody like that, something Armstrong, 8.5 sacks. DeMarcus Lawrence, 6 sacks. Our best player, Ebicom, after Bosa, at least as far as sacks goes, 5 sacks. So it was 8.5 to 5 for the number 2 guy, and then for the number 3 guy, it was 6 to 4.5 for Omenihu. So, you could definitely say, at least from a sacks perspective, that Micah Parsons had more help. You could say that, Bosa was 18.5 to 13 sacks to Parsons. And they're like, well, Micah didn't pass rush as much. I'm like, well, that makes his life easier. It's tougher. The more you pass rush, the harder it is. Not only you have the harder assignment, but your body's going to wear down more during a game, rushing against big O linemen every play.
Yeah, Bosa is the number one guy.
Yeah, and Bosa, it wasn't just sacks. It was QB hits. It was tackles for a loss. So I'm like, you're going to sit here and take one stat and try and tell me that pressures is everything. And I get that there's some value in pressures because sometimes somebody gets a sack because somebody else got the pressure and then they just cleaned up the sack, right? Or maybe 2 people got pressures or 3 and like the 4th guy in gets the sack. I get that. But the thing about sacks, QB hits, tackles for loss, and tackles, like there's no doubt what that was. That's what it was. When somebody comes in and they get within a step of a quarterback, is that a pressure? I don't know. It depends kind of on what happens. If he moves off his mark, I guess.
To me, if you affect the throw, that's a pressure. Being around the guy,
it's subjective. It's still subjective. It's still a matter of opinion. It's not like black and white. Like this
also,
is 100%.
If you think about it, how much is Dallas shoved down everybody's throats nationally?
Yeah,
49ers are not a national team, so of course it's Parsons. The only people that know the truth about Nick Bosa and how much he affects games are 49er fans. and
Also,
smart national guys who actually aren't biased and are not part of the ESPN where we got to push the narrative of the Dallas Cowboys because it's a conversation piece that gets people to watch. Why, I don't know, but apparently it does. But the 49ers just don't have that allure nationally. So, of course, Parsons is always going to be looked at as a superior player. Ramelia Sports Report, Santa Clara, yeah. Still have more.
then,
Still sell out your. You still don't sell out your stadium. That's the sad part. Is you did win a championship recently, but we still run the roost. That's sad. Like,
and we still have 5 in the Bay Area. It's not like Santa Clara. It's not like we moved to St. Louis. Come on, 1,000 miles away or 1,500.
One in one. Yeah, they have only one out here.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to play that game, yeah, exactly. One in like 50 plus years of existence. So good luck with that.
Well, David Steiner, what I meant by we're not a national team, the Empire might be worldwide, but as far as how we are looked at and perceived by the media, we're not a national team. Dallas is.
I mean,
as the season progresses and we're kicking people's ass, I think we become. But every year the Niners have to kind of fight from scratch.
That's true.
Every year to kind of get, it's almost like they have to reclaim it every single year. Like every time the Niners have a bad season, it's like, whatever. But then as soon as like another team who's more popular, say if Dallas had a really good season, was in the Super Bowl, dude, it'd be every story on ESPN. ESPN it's Cowboys. Back when Brady was on the Patriots, it was like Cowboys, Patriots, Cowboys, LeBron. It's the same stuff every single year. So, yeah,
no doubt about it. So with what it ended up with the Micah Parsons people. I mean, ultimately, Micah's a really good player. I'm not saying he's not good.
Could have had him too.
I'm just saying the DPOY voting was over 2-1 in favor of Bosa. It was like 230 to like 110 or something like that. So it was over 2-1. And, ultimately, until Micah Parsons is a dedicated edge, then I don't want to hear any talk about him being a better pass rusher because there is no more valuable position on defense than edge rusher. That is the most valuable position. So if you're that good at it, you should be playing it all the time. There's no excuse why you shouldn't be playing there other than that you can't play the run well, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to is Micah Parsons can't play the run the way Bosa can. And they'll even admit that. So, ultimately, I guess time will tell. But I think, I feel a little badly for the Cowboys fans because now we got Javon Hargrave and Bosa is going to absolutely go bananas this year because people are going to have to pay attention to him.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy and Eric Armstead, those three can stay healthy, I expect an improved pass rush. Again, my biggest worry is that we just don't have anybody on the other side. I mean, if you listen to some of the scouting report on Robert Beal, it doesn't sound very promising. He didn't really have a super productive college career.
But he was behind Nolan Smith and their other starting edge.
But it's just that's what I mean. It's like everybody else was a first rounder and he fell to the 5th. Again, he could be a really good story. Hey, what's up, Tony? The better side of the cult. Cult. I was going to say the cult, but that sounds really bad. But they do have a kid. The cult crew.
Cult clan.
They had like a thing the other day where it was like her and a bunch of other ladies on. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. A bunch of like female fans having like their own YouTube stream. That was cool. That was rad. No, there's nowhere it says you can't do it. So that was awesome. And what was I saying? Yeah, like, what was I saying? I totally forgot. What was I talking about? Practice?
Yeah. Playoffs.
At the game. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, the fact that we just, outside of those three, like, who's going to be the other defensive end? There's still guys in free agency.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's guys we can trade for too. So, no, I mean, I think it's Drake Jackson is the penciled in starter. Austin Bryant could add, probably the most likely to add that sort of D Ford like punch. And then Robert Beal is sort of like to replace Austin Bryant into the future if he keeps getting injured like he has so much in his early career. And then I think Clelin Ferrell is more to back up Bosa, maybe Hyder too. I think on that side.
Brian, I didn't mean to call your family a cult. I'm sorry. I was thinking of clan. They all sound bad when you talk about them in reference to other words that use the same. So sorry. Never mind. Good thing you guys both have senses of humor. I was like, oh, they're going to block me now. Here we go.
Brian's cool. He knows we don't mean any harm.
I got to get on one of his morning shows.
There you go.
Now that I'm back to work, it's impossible. I had all that time. I don't know. I get really, when it comes to the weekend, like I feel like I've talked all my football during the week. I kind of lose my thunder once I hit like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like I have a stream tomorrow with Ryan Hensley, and then that's pretty much, it might be it for the off season for a bit for me, as far as like, when things go a little cold after the last
OTAs?
of the OTAs. Yeah, like I might take a little bit of I'll make like shorts and stuff, but I won't I might take a little live stream break just from all of my streams. What are we talking? Unless something big happens, like a player gets hurt, or we have, something concrete, like somebody gets signed, maybe like a late pass rusher or something. It's going to be tough. So,
well, I'll check in with you next Tuesday and see how you're feeling. There's a couple OTAs next week, so
right.
There's OTAs on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday of next week. So we might have some
only on Tuesdays.
There you go. Does Hyder make the 53? I think so. Who would knock him out? I think Barrett doesn't make the 53.
No, I don't think Barrett. I think Barrett's just like a guy.
Yeah, but I think Hyder does.
The interesting thing to see will be the emergence of Kalia Davis. Can Kalia Davis be a player that could make the field as a pass rusher and be a part of that, what do they call it, the Nitro or the NASCAR package? That would be
NASCAR, yeah.
He's kind of smaller guy, kind of more like a DJ Jones clone. But
it sounds like Isaiah Oliver's doing well at nickel, and that's good to hear because that was one of my concerns was losing Jimmy Ward. I mean, you figure Lenore will improve, Huff will improve, Gibson will probably regress a little bit just because he's old. Yeah. I think Charvarius Ward is about what he is. I think he'll be about. He's
a solid to above average corner, but I just, like I said in the past with you, there's not really such thing as a lockdown corner anymore. Because even like when you watch games with Jalen Ramsey, you could call him a lockdown corner. There's games where he gets freaking crispified, dude, like just toasted. And then there's other games where he looks like his old self. Like, just hard, man. There's so many talented wide receivers. If your team doesn't have a pass rush, I don't care how good of a corner you are, you're gonna get burnt. And if you watch Niner games last year, and I know there were times where the quarterbacks had all day to throw. Bosa's not in the game, or Bosa's getting triple teamed. Nobody else was doing anything. So if this pass rush could somehow go back to the pass rush we saw in 2019, that secondary is going to feast. So what's going on, Beto? Nice to see you in here. Of course, East Coast red and gold. That's such a
Beto had me on yesterday on his channel. He's got some cool overlay stuff.
Beto's got like the Death Star setup, like the computer room in the Death Star with the super laser.
Yeah, he showed it on our channel. It was like, man, he's like, I just do this for fun. I'm like, dude, that looks pretty intense to me.
He's got a better setup than people that do this to get paid.
Yeah.
Like
I was really impressed.
I think Grant's great. I think all these other guys are great. None of them got setups like that. I'm sorry.
With the soundboard and like he's got Apple, and I don't know if he has a PC and a Mac or two Macs or whatever. I know one of them's Apple because his special overlay with the graphics, the moving graphics, the fire and stuff.
Yeah, well, he doesn't stream through StreamYard. He has like a one where you can really change and have it custom, because the StreamYard and what do you call Restreams? Restream's garbage. I'm so glad I came to StreamYard.
Bash is correcting us. It's pronounced Beto, not
Beto.
Beto.
That's funny. Beto never corrects me when I say Beto.
I was saying Beto
Thank
too. So
you. Thank you.
Beto,
Pronunciation
Bash.
Nazi and Bash. Thank you.
Yes. He's a nose tackle and punctuation Karen.
Punctuation Karen. Yeah. No, I love that. Well, Bash has to do it to me because I do it to my brother growing up, and my brother used to hate me. He's like,
Well, and
man,
then
making fun of me all the time, correcting me. So Bash always corrects me all the time.
Beto was telling me about his really cool story. I didn't even know anything about,
Oh yeah.
his trials and tribulations, what he's been through. It was really inspirational and interesting too. Like, like for a while couldn't really get around, and then now he can, but now he has to deal with pain. It's like, wow, like what an interesting, tough situation to have to sort of, and not that you have to make that choice, but I mean, to like, if you had to make that choice, which, I obviously you choose to get around, but it's like, man, I could see, I don't know, I'm impressed and inspired by you, Beto.
To be definitely, and we don't know. None of us really know what we go through in life, in real life. Like I always tell people, my YouTube personality and my real life personality are very, very different. In real life, I could be a little agitated. I'm not very patient. When I'm at work, I look miserable. Like I don't look like I'm approachable, but I'm actually the most talkative person there. It's just like, YouTube is a time for me to cut loose and have fun and relax and just talk football. Real life's a whole other ball of wax, and yeah, we don't know what each other are dealing with, and what Beto has had to deal with his whole life is nothing short of extraordinary. That he's been able to overcome it to the extent that he has. So.
No doubt. It's inspirational to me. And yeah, for me, YouTube is a little bit more like what I'm really like. And the timeline, Teddy, super petty Teddy, that's something, I guess that's kind of me too. It's something I used to be when I was younger, and I just kind of stopped doing it as I got older because I upset too many people in my life. And when it's
I
faceless
used to
people
be a
on
big
Twitter,
troll today.
I don't mind being.
Gotten blocked. I'm blocked by George Kittle, Eric Armstead.
Oh man,
just go at people and be like, "You're freaking ass cheeks, man. You suck." Like I was just such a jerk. Now I look back, and I'm like, "Geez, no wonder my channel freaking went into the toilet." I pissed off all the athletes that I want to talk about, and they don't want to come on my channel because they know who I really am. So no, I don't know, but
it's really hard to get current players on anyway. There's only a few people that really get them. So
I keep telling Raj, I said, "So Raj, you're my connection, right? One of these days I'm going to cash in on it, and I expect a player interview to come out." I told him I'm only half kidding, but no, I love Raj. I'm actually going to be on Raj, I think, in a little bit if he's good to go.
Nice.
I'm the same personality wise in the aspect that if you talk with me, if we talk 49ers, I'm the same person as I am in YouTube. But just, I deal with other things in life. I deal with a lot of chronic pain, and anxiety and depression. So like, I'm not always the most motivated individual. YouTube forces me to kind of come out of my recluse that I kind of crawl right back into as soon as I'm done on YouTube. Like I go right back into the shell as a turtle, so to speak. So
there you go.
But I got to go.
Thanks, Jess. And everybody make sure to tune in to East Coast Red and Gold here at 5 with Jordan Elliott.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Make sure you give her a watch, a like, and a subscribe. It's going to be great stuff.
Anybody who uses Twitter real quick or TikTok, can you teach me how to use it so that I can build my channel off of it? No, I don't know.
You just need to do those short type videos and upload them to TikTok and I guess Insta are the kind of same format, and then you do the long stuff here on YouTube. But I think shorts are taking off on YouTube as well too. So
right.
I don't know. I would say talk to somebody younger. So
younger.
definitely not me.
All right.
But other than that, I think that was pretty much everything we had for the week. Coming up a little over an hour. Everybody who is on 49ers First Takes, make sure to pop over to my channel. Give me a like and a subscribe. Same thing with people on TED Talks Ball. Make sure you pop over to 49ers First Takes. help out Aaron with a like and a subscribe. We really appreciate it from everybody. And we'll just say peace and go Niners.